Welcome to Survive and Thrive. This is a bonus section all about getting comfortable with Zoom. There are no secret words for this session. You don't need any to gain access to your CEUs, so don't worry about secret words today. You can just sit back and relax a little bit and listen to the presentation. Just a quick introduction. I'm Gina Ferris here from Dog Biz. Deborah is also in the background. We'll be answering some of your questions in the chat. But I want to introduce to you, so lucky to be able to introduce to you Irith Bloom, who is with us today. You see her waving there. She is going to walk us through all things Zoom. And so just really appreciate her coming on and lending her expertise today. There's a lot of great information. So I'm going to go ahead and turn it over to her and let her get started.
Thank you so much, Gina. It's lovely to have you here, and thank you to both you and Deborah for handling the chat. I'm just going to start off because I know some of you will have heard me speak in webinars before, and you're probably used to me sort of keeping an eye on the chat and occasionally responding there. But we have so many people in the chat right now that I know if I try to give any attention over there, I'm going to get overwhelmed. So I'm going to be relying on the wonderful Gina and Deborah to let me know if a question comes up that is urgent. Otherwise, they'll let me know about questions towards the end. Also, hang on, I'm going to advance our slide here. As Gina mentioned, we're going to be talking about getting comfy with Zoom. I know some of you may be total beginners to Zoom. Others may have been using Zoom for a while but want to know a little bit more about some of the things you can do to make it easier and more useful for you. I'm going to be trying to meet the needs, especially of the people who are new to Zoom, but there will be some extra information that may be useful to more experienced users as well. I'm going to spend a lot of time just literally showing you my screen and doing stuff in Zoom. Some of the time, because of the way Zoom works when you are Zoom casting, for lack of a better term, that is not a real term, some of the things I actually have little image files that I've taken because I cannot show them to you live. I cannot share them with you live. I will try to clarify when I'm doing that and how I got to whatever it is you're seeing so that hopefully you'll all be able to follow along. Now, speaking of following along, Zoom lives at zoom.us. It's not zoom.com, it's not zoom.net, it's zoom.us. So if you would like to try to follow along and try to do some of the things as I'm doing them, feel free to open a browser, head over to zoom.us, and sort of have the, the presentation here and the browser over there. I don't know, maybe if you have two machines, you can even sign in twice, and you'll be able to follow along. So that's where we're going to start, is at zoom.us. Now, in a moment, I'm going to actually screen share and show you their website. But let me first show you where I'm about to take you, and that's to account types. We need, when we start using Zoom, we need to choose an account that is suitable for our needs. And I would like to take you through the different types of plans available. I'm going to give you a really quick preview, but we'll go into it with a little more detail, which is that your account types are what's called basic, pro, business, and there's also enterprise. Now, instead of spending a lot of time on this slide, I would rather actually show this to you in the Zoom website. So give me just a moment and I will share a different part of my screen with you. And we will be talking later on about how to share. I'm sorry, for some reason. Oh, I see what's going on. Give me just one moment. I just have something going on my computer that is slowing me down, and I just need to, there we go. That should help. Let me go into my share again, and then hopefully this will all work better. Here it is. Okay. So hopefully you can all now see something that says Zoom is the top video conferencing app. If that's not the case, Gina, please jump in and let me know right away, or Deborah, either of you.
No, you're good.
And this is our home page. I know it says like USO2 web, whatever, but zoom.us is all you have to remember. Now that we're in this page, you can see we have a menu here up at the top, and it shows you a variety of different options. I'm highlighting them all in blue right now. And what we're going to take a look at first is plans and pricing. So as I mentioned, there are essentially, sorry, I scrolled down a little too far. There are essentially, well, there are actually 4 plans. There's also an educational plan. And I've highlighted the tops of all of those. I'm going to tell you right now that you're probably going to want basic or pro. Whoops, sorry. And we'll talk about why you're probably going to want basic or pro. But I will very quickly discuss business and enterprise and why you probably don't want them. So the basic plan is free, and it is truly free. You do not need to give them a credit card, or if you do, they never charge it. I mean, it really is truly free. And with that basic plan, all you've done is you create an account. You can host up to 100 participants. You can have one-to-one meetings that are as long as you want. And you can have group meetings that last up to 40 minutes. Now, here's the issue with that 40-minute limit. You may be thinking, oh, well, I work one-on-one with clients. I don't teach classes. And that may be true, but I will tell you, many of my one-on-one clients, there's actually 4 or 5 people in the family. And when I meet with them online, one of them is on their cell phone, one of them is on an iPad. I have one case where the 2 dogs can't be in the same space because they're a hazard to each other, shall we say. So I have one person who's in a bedroom with the one dog, another person who's in a bedroom with the other dog, and another person who's in the dining room. Suddenly there are 4 people in that meeting, me plus 3 others. If I had a 40-minute limit, I would only be able to meet with them for 40 minutes. On the other hand, you do get an unlimited number of meetings, and you can send in problems to their help desk, and their help desk will help you. Now, on the other hand, you might want to consider the pro option. They say it's great for small teams. I am a small team of 1. I find it meets my needs very nicely. You can have up to 9 hosts or users with a pro plan, and it's $14.99 per host per month. There is an annual plan, but the savings is not very good, so I don't particularly recommend trying the annual plan, especially if you're not sure that this is what you want to do. Now, the pro plan gives you all the basic features, but there's add-ons. You can have more participants. You can actually see right there, like it says how much. You can have meetings that last up to 24 hours. And then there's a couple of things like you can create a customized personal meeting ID, which aren't necessarily that important to you. You can assign someone to schedule you things, which isn't necessarily important to you, but it is if you're integrating something like, say, Acuity calendaring. And you also get a small amount of cloud recording. You get a gigabyte that you can use to record your meetings. I'm a big fan of recording my client sessions, my virtual client sessions. I find that having a record of those is incredibly useful to my clients. And sometimes it's really, really helpful, especially say if we're working with a veterinary behaviorist and I want to be able to say, here's where the behavior happened. I actually did this just a few weeks ago. I just took the video, I took a little clip of it, and I sent that to the veterinary behaviorist so she could see the behavior that was concerning us. So being able to record in the cloud is a nice thing. Now, let me clarify. You can record on the basic free plan, but you're going to have to record to your computer. Video does take up a lot of space, so you're going to need to consider how you're going to avoid running out your space, essentially, because you will run out your space pretty quickly. On the other hand, their cloud space of 1 gigabyte is not necessarily that ample, and you will run that out fairly quickly. But we'll talk about that a little bit later. Just as a quick preview for those of you who are comfortable with cloud, and I need to explain what I mean by cloud, so I will come back to that in a second. For those of you who are comfortable with using the cloud, I actually record to my computer and then upload the stuff to Dropbox. And that's my cloud space where I can share it with users without running into the limit of this 1 gigabyte that I am allowed by Zoom. Zoom will sell you extra space, but it's quite expensive. I don't necessarily recommend using their cloud storage. Now the cloud, I'm so sorry, I should have said this at the beginning, basically means I'm not saving it on my computer. It means I'm saving it on somebody else's server. They are out there in the internet. I'm connecting to them through my internet connection. It's not taking up my hard drive space. So that's what I mean by cloud. Now let's quickly look at the other two options, which I told you probably don't want. So business, if you look at the specs, it sounds great. 300 participants, dedicated phone support, which you don't get with Pro. You don't get phone support. Vanity URL. Ooh, doesn't it sound fancy? There's just one problem. $19.99 a month. Hey, no problem. As long as you're willing to buy it for 10 people. So you need to have at least 10 hosts at $19.99 a month, which means basically $200 per month. So suddenly it doesn't seem quite as cheap. And the enterprise, 500 participants, unlimited cloud storage. Hey, this is great, but it's at 100 hosts per month. So now you're looking at $2,000 a month. For most of you in the dog training industry, you are going to find that Pro or Basic is the right fit. And I personally have had a really nice time with the Pro account. I've never had any major issues that they haven't been able to help me with. And I find the features I need are all available to me. All right. So having discussed all of that, let's go back to our slides for a moment. Are there major questions while I am setting up my screen share here that I should pop into?
One question we got that I don't know the answer to is, do you get a dial-in number with Pro, or do you need to purchase an audio bridge for that?
You mean a dedicated dial-in number?
Yeah, for those who need to dial in via phone.
Dial-in via phone is available even in the free account for your user. I don't think you can specify a phone number. Like, you can't get them to call your business number, but you can definitely get users who are not able to log on through the internet. They can definitely call in, and that's true even with the free accounts. I hope that answers that question.
I think so. Thank you.
Great. Okay, so briefly, let's talk about technical requirements. Now, here's what it's going to come down to. Fundamentally, if you have a new computer, and by new I mean less than probably about 5 years old, you should be able to run Zoom. If your computer is 10 or 15 years old, your mileage may vary. It depends on whether you bought top of the line at the time and other things like that. Basically, Zoom runs on all the common operating systems. It also runs on things like Ubuntu, which if you're one of those users, you'll know how to use it. Mac OS 10.7 or later, Windows Vista, XP, 7, 8, 8.1, or 10, except that it's not supported in S mode in Windows 10. And I don't know what S mode is, so hopefully the Windows people know what that is. Tablets and mobile devices, the Surface Pro 2 or higher, running Win 8.1 or higher, except for S mode again. And any iOS or Android device runs Zoom, and BlackBerry devices also run Zoom, which I think is really impressive because BlackBerry is not used by that many people. It's nice to see a company like Zoom supporting a device that's a relatively low percentage of the market. Browsers that are supported through Zoom, or that can support Zoom, include in Windows, Internet Explorer 11 plus. Don't worry about it if you have the latest version of the browser, you have 11 or higher. Edge 12, Firefox 27 or higher, same comment. If you have the latest version, that's fine. And Chrome 30 or higher. For Mac, it's basically the same things, except that we add in Safari 7 or higher. You can find detailed specifications and information about all of these options, and more options than you can shake a stick at, really, as to what you want to use and how much RAM you should have and that kind of thing. If you want to really geek out about this, go to the Zoom Help Center. They've got extremely detailed information. If you are just looking to set up Zoom and you're not really too concerned because your computer is relatively new, you're probably fine. Any questions there, bearing in mind that I am not going to be able to answer really detailed specs questions because frankly, the details are so numerous, it would be impossible for me to know all of them. Okay, so let's talk about setting up a meeting. And I'm going to show you in my browser in a moment. I will share that for you, how we set up a meeting. But basically, to schedule a meeting, what you're going to do is you're going to go into your account. So at this point, I have to assume that you have an account. And you're going to go up to the meeting section, hit schedule a new meeting. It's going to pop up a window that looks like this. And now I'm going to take you into my browser so this will all make a lot more sense. Hang on while I switch my share. And thank you all for your patience. Here we go. Okay, so here I was. I'm in Zoom. First thing I'm going to do is I'm going to go over here. See, it says, whoops, I'm trying to circle it and I can't, but can you see it says my account? Hang on, I'm going to back up so you can all see that again. It says my account in the upper right-hand corner. That's one way to start. Another way to start is, no, I don't want to join a meeting or host a meeting. Never mind. We need to start my account. So I have a couple of options. Here I am in my account. You can see my little profile pic, power user tip, or not so power, but if you want to have fun, you click this. I'm not going to click it right now, and it prompts you to put a photo there, and you can put any image you want, and then it lets you crop the image to match their size. So you can delete your photo or change a photo there. So here's my profile. It says all kinds of stuff about how my Zoom account is set up. It'll show you how your Zoom account is set up. And we have two options from here for scheduling a meeting, to get back to the scheduling a meeting. So schedule a meeting. I can either click on this. Here I am in the schedule a meeting page. Or I'm going to go back. I'm going to show you another alternative. I can click, see here it says profile, you can see my nifty little pic. I can click on meetings and then it says schedule a new meeting. And I click schedule a new meeting and I'm in the same place. So whether I do it from here or I do it from here and then schedule a new meeting, I wind up in the same place. I'm hoping that makes sense to everyone. So I can either click on schedule a meeting up near the upper sort of mid to slightly to the right, or I can click on the meetings tab in the menu on the left and then select schedule a new meeting. Now, once I'm here, I can create a meeting. It's really kind of fun. So let's call it test meeting. It's autofilling because I've already 5 and Thrive sample meeting. And I can type in the name test meeting as my topic, and the description can be survive and thrive sample meeting. And I'm simply selecting, clicking in there and starting to type. Now, when shall I start it? So I can pick a day, like maybe I want it to be on April 30th, or maybe I want it to be on May 12th, or maybe I want it to be, so I'm going back to April, today. Hopefully all of you are familiar with that particular kind of selecting a calendar date. Now for the time, I want to give you a tip because this used to make me nuts until I figured out what was going on. If you choose to type, if you want to select the time, great. You select 1 p.m. It actually probably really wouldn't let me do that. It would complain if I tried. I select 3 p.m. Okay, but what if I want 3:05? Whoops, hang on. I'm going to delete this and I'm going to type in 3:05. I then have to move my cursor down to where it says 3:05 in that drop-down list and hit select. If I do not do that, let's just say I'm going to type in a different time now. If I don't hit select, oh, of course, that time it did it for me. If I don't hit select, then it'll just revert back to the previous one. So make sure that you select the time, even if you've entered a weird time, make sure to select it. And then you can select AM or PM. You can choose, and I'm going to change the time on this because I just want to make sure that we've got a time that it will accept. And you can choose how many hours. This can be up to 24 hours. I'm going to make it 1 hour. I could also make it 0 hours if I wanted it to be a super short meeting that was 30 minutes. And I can make it any number of hours from 0 to 24 and then 15-minute increments. So I could make the meeting, say, an hour and 45 minutes. Then I select my time zone. It usually asks for your time zone when you join Zoom, so it should already know. But let's say you're in Hawaii, you could choose Hawaii instead. Good for you being in Hawaii. Or you could select Vancouver, another nice place, which is actually the same as our Pacific time here. So, or you could go to Midway Island. But for me, I'm on Pacific time. Now, what if I want to meet with the same client every week at the same time for 8 weeks? I can make it a recurring meeting. You can change the recurrence from daily, weekly, monthly, or you can have a specific kind of recurrence. Let's just pretend it's weekly for now. And it occurs on this day of the week, and then you can either end it on a specific date, or you can end it after a number of meetings. So say I've just sold a 5-session package to someone. We're going to meet every week on Monday at 3 p.m. And the first session is this week of that 5-session package. I can set this up and it will automatically set those meetings up for me so that they have all 5 meetings in their calendar. Most of you probably won't need to use recurring meetings very often. I find most clients can't meet at exactly the same time every single day, but if they need to, it's there for you. Then there's this button that says registration required. I'm going to say I'm going to counsel you against using that unless you're pretty savvy. I've had a lot of people have problems, not myself because I don't actually use it, but I've heard from a lot of people that they've had problems with registration. It does require the user to have a Zoom account, so then they can't join unless they create a Zoom account if they don't have one to begin with. I'm not going to spend too much time on that. I'd rather look at the meeting ID. So some of you may have heard the horror stories about how people are having their Zoom meetings crashed. And someone comes in and it's not someone they know, and all of a sudden they're posting some kind of strange picture or cursing at the group or doing something that's really inappropriate and you don't want it to happen to you and your clients. This has mostly been happening when people have their personal ID turned on. And I'd like to talk about what the personal ID is briefly so you understand it. So it says personal meeting ID. They also abbreviate this PMI. The personal meeting ID is as if you've got a party room at a hotel, like a hospitality suite, if you've ever done that, say at a wedding or some other kind of event. And the door's unlocked and anyone who knows the hotel room number can walk in. Anyone who guesses your personal meeting ID, if you do not have a password set up, can walk into your personal meeting. That's one problem. So you could just have some random stranger show up off the street. The other problem with having your personal meeting ID in use is that then, let's say you have a client at 2 and another client at 3:15, and your 2 p.m. client was supposed to wrap up by 3, but you're running long, and your 3:15 client decides to sign into the Zoom meeting room early. Well, you're all walking into the same hotel room because you all have the same meeting ID. So I strongly recommend that instead you choose the generate automatically. Every single meeting, when you generate automatically, has its own ID. They do not repeat, and you won't have problems. It's harder for someone to figure out the ID because they're a little longer and they're more random. And you also won't have problems with 2 people from 2 different meetings walking into the same room at the same time. I strongly recommend you require a meeting password. That is one more layer of security. All right, so that's what I recommend for meeting ID. Generate automatically, require meeting password. I do this for all of my client sessions. That is how all my client sessions are set up. And that way, nobody's overlapping with anybody else and nobody's crashing our party. Now, some other settings you can see. Video, you can have that turned on for both of you or off for both of you. I tend to have it turned on because I'm doing one-to-one sessions with clients. Audio, you have the option of forcing them to call in by a phone. Someone asked about phones earlier. You can have the option of forcing them to use their computer audio, or you can allow both. I personally allow both. If you have some reason to want to allow people to dial in from different countries, you can do that by clicking edit right here. Dial from United States of America, edit, and you can search and add, say, Japan. But most of you are not going to need to do that, because even if you do have a foreign client, it's going to be way cheaper for them to dial in through their computer than it is going to be for them to dial into you through a long distance phone call. Then a couple of other meeting options, and then we're going to talk about how to make all of these defaults. One meeting option is enable join before host. You're going to notice that my meeting does not have this turned on. I am not a fan of this setting, because then what happens is they walk into the meeting before you walk into the meeting. If you have it scheduled to record to the cloud, we'll talk about that in a minute, it's going to start recording as soon as they walk in, even though you're not there yet. And I just don't like them hanging out in the room and then me joining them. It feels like I've reversed the relationship I'm supposed to have with my clients. I feel like I should be hosting them in this meeting, and I should be the one who's in control of when it starts. So I do not enable join before host. I also don't usually mute participants upon entry. You can do this if you want to be extra careful because you're afraid that maybe someone will join who is just there to curse at you. You can mute participants upon entry. I personally don't do it because of all the other security features I use. What I do is I enable a waiting room. All of you today, when you came in through a waiting room. It said, please wait, the meeting is getting started, the host will admit you, or some kind of words like that. That's the waiting room. Now, the great thing about the waiting room is Deborsha and Gina were able to look at all the names and say, yep, these are all people that we know, or, none of these seems to be some, strange person whose name is shock collars are awesome or something like that. And they can choose who to admit and not admit, which is really nice. You've got this only authenticated users can join. That requires them to sign into Zoom to join the meeting. As I mentioned earlier, that has a lot of problems. Breakout room pre-assign just means that you pre-assign people to breakout rooms. We'll talk about breakout rooms briefly later. Don't worry about this. And then I personally set the meeting up to record automatically. And you can pause the recording and resume the recording. But I set it up to record automatically so I don't forget to hit record. And remember, I've got the people in the meeting room and I'm admitting them when I want to, so I know when the recording's starting. And I record on the local computer, as I mentioned, and then I wind up moving the files to Dropbox. You can also record into the cloud. Then you are limited by that 1 gigabyte of space. And I'm actually going to take a moment right here. I'm going to pause and see if there are questions. Okay, hearing none, I'm going to take a quick moment and I'm just going to show you what I mean when I say that I use Dropbox for this. So let me go to my desktop and share. And hang on, I'm going to turn on my Finder. So I'm just going over to my Dropbox. I'm going to drag this into the middle. I am right now, I hope you're all seeing my screen. I have my Zoom folder set up inside my Dropbox folder. So everything that records, this is not all my recordings, by the way, they get moved around further from here, but we're not going to get into that. Everything that gets recorded automatically gets uploaded to the cloud that Zoom controls, and then I can share it from there, rather than me having to worry about sharing it from inside the Zoom cloud, which I will run out of after 2 or 3 meetings. So just a little tip to know. Now, that was how to make meeting settings for an individual meeting. The nice thing is you can also set up default meeting settings. And we're going to talk about some security settings, chat options, whether or not you want to use polling, how you allow screen sharing, breakout rooms, which are useful for classes, closed captions, how those work, the waiting room, which I already discussed a little, and annotation, which I unfortunately can't demo for you because of the default settings on this Zoom account, but it is kind of a fun feature for especially younger people. They're going to want to do that. So, all right. Oh, sorry. And then I'll just give you a really quick preview because we're going to do this all in the browser. We're going to talk about recording locally versus the crowd, recording options, some view options, and I already talked to you about the automatic recording feature. So let me jump out to my browser. Give me a moment to change screens again. Whoops, no. Where did it go? There it is. Sorry. Okay, so here I am, schedule a meeting. We already went over this. What if I want to set up a default setting so that each meeting I open up starts the way I want it to look? And I don't have to go through all these steps, because I can tell you right now, all of this stuff, I just go through to make sure nothing got weird. All I do when I start a new meeting is I give it a topic, a description if I want to. I don't even do a description most of the time. Put in the time, put in the duration, and then just double check that everything else is the way it is, and I hit save. And then when I hit save, here's my test meeting. I can copy an invitation to the meeting. You hit copy, it'll be in your clipboard, and then you can paste it into an email, send it to the person. I can simply send them this, this URL. It's a one-click URL, which I really like. They just click on it and they join. It's great, but they're still in the waiting room. Or I can download an ICS file like this one. I'm not going to do it right now because I don't need this meeting in my records. But I can download an ICS file, or I can add it to Google Calendar or Yahoo Calendar. Personally, I do the ICS files and I send them to clients, and I don't know if they use them or not, but I use them. So that's assuming that I've created this meeting, and later on I'm going to go in and I'm actually going to delete this meeting, but I won't do it right now. But what if I want to make sure, as I said, when I went through the meeting, all my settings were already set up. What if I want to create defaults so that the only things I have to worry about are these lines right here? The name of the meeting, the description, if I choose to put one in, and the time and the duration. That's it. Well, I go into settings, and you see it says meeting settings. And I don't know if you remember, my host video was on. Whoops, oh snap. Zoom's been having this problem a lot lately because they're quite overloaded. This would be host video off. This is host video on. Blue is on, gray is off. Participants video on. My audio type, remember I said I prefer telephone and computer? It's on. Join before host, I've got it turned off. Personal meeting ID, turned off. Authenticated users can join meetings, turned off. Password required, turned on. 3 times in a row. Embed password in meeting link for one-click join. That is something that I do choose to do. If I have problems with it, I will probably stop doing that. Otherwise, if you don't choose this, they have to type in the password. And I do think you should require a password for participants joining by phone because, again, who knows like what kind of odd things people are doing these days. I don't mute participants upon entry. And I get a meeting reminder from my calendar, but you can turn this on if you want Zoom to give you a reminder. I personally don't need it because my calendar does it. Don't worry about the encryption. This is off by default for a reason. If you want to turn it on, make sure you know what kind of restrictions that puts on your users before you do it. My chat is turned on. Private chat, which means you can chat to one other person in the room and not everyone in the room, is turned on. And I have auto saving chats on so that when I get my recording, and I get the video file and audio file, and I get a chat file. They all show up in the Zoom folder that I created. Play sound when participants join or leave. This one is important for those of us in the dog industry. You have 2 options. There's a sound, and it kind of goes doo-doo. It sounds almost exactly like a doorbell. In fact, it probably sounds exactly like some doorbells, is how I should say it. You have the option of the host and all the attendees hearing it. I advise against this. And you have the option of the host only hearing it. That is my suggestion. Because that way, if I have a dog who overreacts to the doorbells, I'm the only one who's hearing the doorbell, especially because I use headphones. So my sound only comes to me. It doesn't come to the other people. There's an option here about recording and playing your own voice by telephone. I'm not even sure what that means. I'm not going to say something about it because I don't know. File transfer allows people to send you files in the meeting. I'm not sure why that would ever be necessary. I have it turned off. You should be able to give feedback to Zoom. If you want to, you can have them put up a feedback survey. How was the meeting? Did it work well? Did everything stream like it was supposed to? You can allow people to add co-hosts. I personally don't do this because it's just me. And I don't like my clients to have all the same in-meeting controls. I don't want them turning the recording on and off, for instance. So I don't allow that. Polling allows you to send a poll to the attendees, kind of a fun thing that you might want to do. The meeting control toolbar will disappear and reappear. If you want it to not disappear, you click this. I personally don't do that. Show Zoom windows during screen share, you can have on or off. We were testing this earlier and it was working strangely anyway. And then screen sharing, which we're going to talk about a lot. All you need to worry about here is your settings. Do you want to be the only one who can share? You click host only. Do you want other people to be able to share their screen? I allow my clients to share their screens because maybe they want to show me a video they took of their dog, for instance. But then you make sure that only the host can start sharing when someone else is sharing, so you don't have a lot of people trying to overlap each other if, say, it's a class. You want to make sure that you control the conch, for those of you who know what I mean by a conch. You can disable screen share for users or not. Annotation allows people to draw on the screen when it's a shared screen. And it's kind of fun. You can like point out, you see how the dog's ear went like this, and you can circle it. We don't have that feature turned on in this particular meeting, I don't believe. No, so we're just going to leave that be. And you can also use a whiteboard if you want. Some of these other things like remote control allows other people to control your shared content. Don't know why anyone would do that. Nonverbal feedback lets them do things like give you thumbs up. One-on-one or with a class of clients, I'd much rather just have them actually speak to me. Allow removed participants to rejoin would be if you kicked someone out, then they can come back in, and you may not want to do that. So I have that turned off. Allow participants to rename themselves, allows them to, give themselves another name. I don't have a problem with that, but if you have a really large group, you might want to turn that off. And you could also hide their profile pictures if you were afraid that their profile pictures would be inappropriate. Reporting participants in case something goes wrong is a good thing to have. And then let's talk about breakout rooms. So if you're teaching a class, one thing you can do is you can divide your students up into groups in what's called a breakout room. And what you do is you say, okay, I'm going to start a breakout room. And there is a way to do this within Zoom. It's a little bit of a power user feature, but it's there. And you say, okay, Jim and Bob are in room 1, Mark and Dave are in room 2, and Tim and Robert are in room 3. And hopefully I didn't just repeat any names, although I know Robert and Bob could be the same guy. And so essentially what you've done is you've created a little sub room for them. Remote support is you being able to provide support to another user while they're having trouble. Closed captioning allows you to type closed captions or assign someone else to type closed captions or a third-party device. Zoom itself will not create closed captions for you automatically. So you either need a voice-to-text program or you need to have someone typing in. And far-end camera control, why would you want another user to take control of your camera during a meeting? I say no. HD video makes things slower, so I say no. Virtual background is just a fun bonus feature. If you want to play around with it, you can check it out, but I have it turned on. And then there's a bunch of not really hugely important settings that we're not going to worry about. We're going to jump down to waiting room. Waiting room is what we talked about before, where you were all in that room where it said the host will let you in shortly. And that way you can see who's there before you admit them. That also disables join before host, which is why join before host for me was turned off. I'm a big fan of the waiting room. That way you always know who's coming in. You can also do a join from your browser link that limits their usability. And then there's some email notifications. When a cloud recording is available is a good one to have turned on. When attendees join the meeting before host, if you've got that option. When a meeting is canceled, when a host is removed, when someone scheduled a meeting for you, and when the cloud recording is going to be deleted. Those are all good things to have on. Don't worry about the others or the schedule privilege. The schedule privilege, if you do have a large team, you can add other people who can schedule meetings for you, but you don't need to worry about that. Now, the other type of default setting I want to talk about is recording. So I have both local and cloud recording turned on just in case something goes wrong on one end or the other, but I usually record locally. That is my default. And don't worry too much about all the individual settings, but my automatic recording, see right here, says record on the local computer. And then I have it set up so that you need a password to access cloud recordings, though I hardly ever use them. You can turn on auto delete on cloud recordings, or Zoom will tell you when you're running out of space. And you can also show a disclaimer to participants before the recording starts. Okay, so that is basically all of your default settings. I'm going to stop this share, jump into the slides for a moment, and give you all a moment to ask questions if you have them. Whoops, here we go. When I talk about sharing, before I talk about sharing the screen, pardon me, I'm actually going to talk about view options really quickly. Not really quickly. I'll take a few minutes to talk about view options, then we'll talk about sharing screens. All right, so I'm going to stop my share for a second because this is actually the perfect way to show you the view options. I see someone said, what is the whiteboard? The whiteboard is like a chalkboard that people can make annotations on. And how much memory is used for a 2-hour meeting? Give me a second. I can probably give you a guess. 2-hour meeting is going to run you about 1 to 2 gigabytes. I'm not going to go into internet connection and stuff. That's all in the specs. So I just want to show you there's 2 fundamental ways to view your screen. And I'm going to shut down the chat window on my end so that I can focus. No offense to anyone. I love that you're all chatting, and I love that Gina and Deborsha are doing such a great job handling it all. Okay, so right now you should all see a grid of a bunch of participants. Everybody's videos seem to be off, which is fine. Some of you have profile pics, some of you don't. This is what's called gallery view. Now I can go back into this, which is called speaker view. So other things I can do, and now I cannot show you this from within Zoom. So I have to go into some images, and I'm just warning you right now that I'm having to do that. Where did my images go? Just a second. Oh, how odd. That's very odd. Give me a second to, I shouldn't have done that. That's what I want to do. Just a second. Why is this not showing up? How odd. Having a little Zoom technical difficulty, I apologize. There it is. Okay. So I want to talk about sharing, and I know you're all seeing a different screen. So the first thing I want you to see is right here. Can you all see it says share screen? That's one thing I want you to notice because we're going to talk about sharing. But first, sorry, back to views. Right now this image you are seeing is in speaker view. There's a lovely woman with her horse, Jenny Willis, here in the center. And you can see the other people as sort of a bar across. And can you see there's a little, it almost looks like a keypad dial for a phone here. If you click on that, you wind up in, where is it? Goodness gracious. You wind up in gallery view. Now that I'm in gallery view, you'll see up here, there's a little icon that says speaker view, and there's 3 squares and a little rectangle. Basically, all this is a toggle. I can switch from here. Whoops. Oh, I see. It won't let me do that because there we go. Oh, goodness. Why'd that get stuck? Just a second. Okay, something got stuck. I'm going to fix that. You can switch from here by clicking on this little icon, and then you get the other view, which is gallery view. And I'm going to say one thing about gallery view before I move on to screen sharing. I recommend you use gallery view for any meeting you record for a client, because your clients will, the Zoom program will only record what is in the Zoom window. And if, for example, your client is doing a leash walking exercise with their dog, and you are explaining to them, okay, I want you to hold your hand here, I want you to do this, you are going to automatically wind up as the main video, unless you pin your video, which I'm going to talk about in just another moment. And then you won't have a recording of what they did with their dog. And you really want a recording of ideally everything when you create a Zoom recording. So I use gallery view as a default with my clients. Your other option is to pin a video. Sorry, Gina, I caught you in an awkward pose there. I'm in an awkward pose too, so what the heck? Can you see up here, it says chat and pin video. So what I've done is I've clicked on these little 3 dots. I scrolled up, I clicked on Gina's image, then I clicked on the little 3 dots. When I did, it said chat and pin video. I click pin video, her video will stick no matter who's talking. If I want to make sure my video sticks no matter who's talking, I scroll up to my image, hit the 3 dots again, and then I click pin video here for me. But once I do that, the video is not going to change to the client video, and we're not in gallery view. So hopefully that all makes sense. We have the option of pinning Gina's video by clicking on her and hitting pin video, or pinning my video by clicking on me, whoops, and clicking pin video. It's a slightly longer menu. I have more options than you do, but it's still the same. I can't really. Yes.
Irith, there are a couple questions. One is, what do you mean by sticks?
What I mean by sticks is no matter what happens, who's talking, who turns their video on or off. Actually, maybe if you turn your video off, it unpins it. That video will be the big image. You see how Gina occupies easily 70% of the image right now? Maybe closer to 80. And if I, hang on, I'm gonna do this in the live. I'm gonna do this in the live one. So hang on, I'm gonna pin my video. Now you should all see me and only me. And no matter what I do, once I pin that video, Gina could start talking, Deborah could start talking, their video will not come up because they're talking. On the other hand, if I pin Deborah's adorable image right here, then none of us are going to be able to see anybody but Deborah. So that's what the pinning does. Okay, so now let's talk about sharing. So all of you should see at the bottom of your screen, there's a thing that says share screen. And I'm actually going to click on it right now because I need to show you some things from within there. Oh, but you know what? Before I do that, let me just take us back to speaker view and unpin. You can also unpin a video using the same menu. There you go. Okay, so I'm going to share my screen and I'm going to show you some sharing things. So first thing you need to know is the sharing screen looks like this. Now, I'm going to start us back here. How did I get to this screen, right? I'm starting us back. This should be an image that is similar to what you see right now, except I'm in the middle. Well, I'm not in the middle. The sharing screen is open. There's a little green button that says share screen right over here. When you click on that green button, this is what pops up. Now, if I were to hit the button share over in the lower right corner, right now desktop is highlighted in blue. That is what would be shared. But maybe I want to highlight something else. I can click on it, make that highlighted. I want you to also notice down at the bottom towards the left, there are 2 check boxes. One says share computer sound and the other says optimize for full screen video clip. These are very useful when you want to share a video, which is, I know, a question a lot of you have. So let's say I want to share a video. I am going to put a check mark in both of these boxes. And in fact, I'm going to tell you as a practical matter, when you click on optimize for full screen video clip, it actually usually checks share computer sound automatically for you. Make sure to do this before you press the blue share button. You want to click these, make a check mark before you click the share button. I would show you this in real time, but I can't. Zoom does not allow me to share Zoom. So here's what it would look like. Say I want you all to see Word Crimes by Weird Al Yankovic. So I've unclicked desktop. I've selected this. It's highlighted. I don't know if it'll be highlighted in blue for you or not, by the way. That may be because I choose blue as my highlight color on my computer. It may be a different color for you. I click on that, and then I click down here to put a check in this box, and then I click down here to make sure there's a check in this box, and then I choose share, or you can also just double click on the thing that you want to share. And that is how you share your screen. So I could share my PowerPoint files if I clicked and selected this item. I could share the whiteboard. Someone was asking about the whiteboard earlier. If I clicked and selected this item, I can share my entire desktop except for my Zoom window, which does not share, by clicking this. It does share, but in a really weird way. Or I could select that video. Share computer sound, optimize for full screen video clip. If you do not hit optimize for full screen video clip, the video will be choppy. A couple of other video tips. Don't even try to stream a video that's more than 720p or 720i. It's, for those of you who know what I mean by this, HD video, which starts at 720, that's considered HD. HD video is very data heavy. And you or your client may have a small internet connection. And I don't mean it's literally small, but you can think of it as small. And when you're trying to send, say, a 4K video, if you all are all familiar with what 4K looks like, that really high quality stuff you get on your TV for certain programs, if you're lucky, that requires a huge amount of data to be going through the wires. It's like trying to send a river through, if you have someone who has a pretty kind of internet connection, through a little tiny household pipe. So instead of making sure that everybody you know is running a T3 line, and those of you who really know what a T3 line is know that nobody runs a T3 line unless they're a business, instead of that, keep your video to 720 or lower. 360 is even better. The other thing is, YouTube is very carefully set up to maximize how well videos stream. So if you have a YouTube channel, you can upload a video you want to show to your client, mark it private, and then stream it to them by popping up that window. So if you look at this shared window, I know it's a little hard to see. This is actually my browser, and I'm on YouTube. So what you would do is you would go to YouTube in your browser, and then you share your browser when you share your screen. And then from within your browser, you would share the video. If you want to share a video directly from your computer, one of these images here would be an open video file, say in your QuickTime or whatever it is. You can share from any program that's open, really, fundamentally. So YouTube is a nice workaround. You can put a fairly high quality video. YouTube will dumb it down enough for it to stream nicely, and then you can stream it to your client. This is also a great way to share if you want to share a great video by Emily Laurelham. She has the perfect video to demonstrate this exercise that you want. That's Kiko Pup for anyone who doesn't know her real name. She has a perfect video to demonstrate what you want them to see. You can just go over to her channel, share that YouTube, the browser window, make sure you optimize, make sure you share your computer screen, and you can show them Emily doing her stuff. So just be sure to set all of that stuff up, these two check boxes, and then you hit share. Any questions right now?
Can you repeat the maximum file size for video?
So you mean maximum file format for video?
Right, sorry.
Yes. So I would not attempt to stream anything bigger than 720. 1080 is just going to overwhelm almost everyone's connections. Plus, you're going through, if you think about it, this is like, I'm going to my ISP. I know not everyone's going to understand this, so I'm just going to say this and hope that those of you who get it will find it useful. I'm going through my ISP to Zoom. My client's going through their ISP to Zoom, and Zoom is exchanging the information between us. So it's like a game of telephone. I'm telling Zoom what to say. Zoom is telling you that information. So if their bandwidth, if their ability to stream data is too low, or mine is too low, or yours is too low, it's all going to fall apart. 1080 is just really tough. So I strongly recommend, unless you have really power users with really amazing internet connections, that you stick to 720p or lower. 360 is probably better. Or as I said, you can upload it to YouTube, and then YouTube actually smooths things out a lot, but I still wouldn't try to stream an HD YouTube video at like 4K or 1080i. I still don't think that would look very pretty. Does that answer the question? I hope.
Yes, I think so. And we still have some questions about, there's still some questions about what gets recorded when you pin a video versus when you're in gallery versus when you're in speaker view.
Okay, so I'm going to go take us, I've unshared my screen. I hope you can all see the Zoom page again. And right now, there's an image for me. It should probably really be me. So I'm going to go to gallery view. So while this recording that is happening right now, the dog biz is taking right now, the recording is going to show the gallery view right now. If I switch to speaker view, it's going to show whoever it thinks is speaking, which should probably be me. I'm not sure because I don't see myself as a speaker. That's one of the funny things about Zoom. Now, let's say I want to pin Deborsha's video. Now the recording is going to show that pinned video, and the little images at the top may show up, but that pinned video, it's no longer going to show me. But if I go back to speaker view, I have to actually unpin her video. Hang on a second. So whatever view you're seeing on your screen right now, that is the view that's going to be recorded. When you are sharing your screen, are you not seeing gallery view right now, Jan? I just turned it to gallery view. Ooh, interesting. Last time it was working. That's really interesting. When we did this presentation a couple hours ago, we were getting gallery view. I apologize. Okay, so this is unfortunately something that I can't show you from within here. Hang on a second. Let me share my screen, go back to my images, and I'm going to talk you through it. So if I have selected, I am the recording location. As the recording location, what I see is what gets recorded. So if you are the host of the meeting, you are the recording location. I hope that makes sense to everyone. So then if I choose gallery view, this is what will be recorded. Or this, for that matter. That's another gallery view of a different image. If I choose speaker view, this is what will be recorded. And then if I have pinned a particular person, their video, whatever I am seeing on my Zoom screen, that's what's getting recorded. I'm going to stop my share. Does that answer that question? I'm sorry. Thank you for pointing out to me that it wasn't showing up in your actual Zoom. You cannot pin two videos at the same time as far as I know, but I'm going to try. Hang on. Oh, no, I can't because you're not in video mode. Wait, Deborsha, I can pin you. And then can I also pin myself? No, you can't pin two videos. I didn't think so, but I figured the best way to find out was to try. I am the speaker, so I should be showing up. But what speaker really means is whoever's talking. Speaker means whoever's talking. So speaker doesn't necessarily mean the person who is speaking as in I'm doing the presentation. Speaker means the person whose voice is being heard. So right now, let me make sure I'm in speaker view. Gina, can you say something and let's see if you pop onto their screens?
Yeah, let's see if I become the speaker when I start talking.
Yes, you do.
Yeah.
Yeah, so everyone sees Gina. Now that I'm talking, do you all see me? hi, I'm just going to keep talking. So that's what's going to happen. So the speaker doesn't mean I'm the speaker. It means whoever is making noise. And one of the problems with that, by the way, is that if there's a dog barking in the background of one of the participants, that's the video you're going to see. So that's why I personally like gallery view. All right, any other questions?
There have been a couple questions about, can you rearrange people in the gallery, or can you adjust how the screen is split? But I don't.
Not as far as I know. There is one other funky view option. I'm trying to remember. Hang on a second. Let me see if I can find this quickly. There is another view option. No, you know what? I think that's only available in the webinar version. Never mind. I think that's a webinar thing. I think that's a Zoom webinar thing, what I'm thinking of. As far as I know, speaker and gallery are the only views that are available to you in an ordinary Zoom meeting.
Jan says there's a side-by-side option, and I have come across it, but I cannot remember where.
And that's not if there's only 2 participants and you're in gallery?
No, I think there is also one that keeps it side by side, but I can't tell you where it is. Sorry.
And that's the thing, is I can't find it. The only view options I have are speaker. You know what? Actually, hang on a second. Oh, I can manage. No, that's just mute and not mute. That's not about how the video looks. Hang on a second. I'm hopping around looking to see. Not that I'm seeing as an option in my menus. If someone does know, please feel free to share that in the Survive and Thrive Facebook page. Other questions? Oh, so you know what? Hang on a second. Let me really quickly finish our slides. And then those of you who want to stick around a little longer, if that's okay with the Dog Biz team, we
Sure.
can, hang on a second. Why can't I? Come on, slideshow. Oops, no, that's not what I want. This is what I want. My apologies. All right, so this is an hour, just barely an hour that we've had to go over this. I just want you to know there's way more in Zoom than one can cover in an hour. They have a great help center. You click into Zoom and you go to Help Center. It's right up at the top, and they have all these topics that whoops, that didn't work. They have all these topics that you can see. They have little video intros, and they have some much longer tutorials. You can also chat with the help people. I'll show you how that works in just a second, actually. The tutorials are at this URL. I'm just putting this up long enough so it'll be in the recording, and maybe we can share it with the attendees later. And technical specifications for those who are asking things like, how much bandwidth do I need? That's all in the technical specifications. There's literally like 5 pages worth of information in the technical specifications. So your particular system is, just going to be one little section of that. Now, having said that, I'm going to briefly stop the share just so I can show you the help room, because I do think that that's a helpful thing for you to know how to find. Here we go. So here I am back in Zoom. And up here, do you see it says support? I can click on that to get support, and it brings me to that page I just showed you with all the different options. I can also, both in this page and any other page on Zoom, I can click on this little blue icon that is down at the bottom right of my screen. It's blue and it's got a little thing in it. That is a chat icon. I'm not going to do it right now because last time I did this, I got a little message from them saying, we weren't able to help you. What did you need? And I don't want to make them feel guilty. But if you click this chat, you will get a bot who will then direct you to a live person, and you'll get to a live person pretty quickly. That may only be for pro users. I'm not sure if it works on the basic plan. Now let me go back to the slides. I'm going to stop my share, go back to the slides. Questions, and Gina, please just start feeding me stuff. I'm going to put up, the next slide so everyone can just see when our next session is while I deal with any questions that you want to make sure we address.
We've had some questions about breakout rooms, and we have too many people on the call to set up a breakout room to show you that. I'm almost certain though that one of Zoom's videos is on breakout rooms and will show you what that looks like. They have quick little 2-minute tutorials on their support page. I really encourage you to go look there if you want to take a look at just like what different screen options and recording options look like. You can see some of that work there.
Yeah, and that's one of those things, again, because I can't show you while I'm in Zoom, I can't share my Zoom with you. I can't show you that right now. But what I will tell you is when you create the breakout room, like things you need to be aware of if you're going to use them is that there's a tiny delay before they start and there's a tiny delay after they end. So make sure to prepare your students for that so that they know. And then, yes, the best thing to do, absolutely, Gina, is go watch a tutorial because they can share Zoom while they're doing the tutorials. I just can't.
Right.
Other questions?
I'm going to go ahead and wrap it up for those who have to go, and then we can stay and take questions if you want.
Okay.
But for those of you who are saying, I need to get out of here, just wanted to let you know that tomorrow, the 28th, we have our regular Survive and Thrive session. We'll be talking about putting classes online. And then we also have a special bonus, if you'll advance the slides for me. We have a special bonus session on Thursday. Marie Palisano of Dollars and Cents will be here. She's a CPA that specializes with dog businesses. She's going to talk about the CARES Act and any other pertinent financial information that comes up around COVID this week. So there's some times listed there. That's a good one to check into. Please continue the discussion over on the Survive and Thrive Facebook page, and thank you all for being here. Hope to see you tomorrow.